Bear down, Chicago Bears. Do 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 do. Yes, I'm in my boxers. Do 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 do. The Chicago Bears have the number one first overall pick. Let's freaking go, man. The Houston Texans defeat the Colts 32-31 by getting a 4th and 20 touchdown from like the 40-yard line or some shit like that. It was amazing. I wasn't watching it because I was at a bar and it wasn't on because like nobody cared about that game. But I did. I cared about that game. And they freaking won. And I was watching it from my phone. And they go for 2. Lovie Smith, I love you, man. I love you. I didn't like you that much as a Bears head coach. I mean, you were decent for us. But one last fuck you to the Texans and one last I love you to Chicago. Thank you, Lovie Smith. You cannot tell me that he did not do it for the Chicago Bears. You cannot convince me, because afterwards he said, I think I'll be back. Literally like hours. I'm talking hours after the game. They said, fuck you. Come on, focus. The Texans fired Lovie Smith. And I can't say that he didn't deserve it, because they had the first overall pick the entire season until week 18. Or week 19, whatever. You had the first overall pick all season and you fuck it up the last week. And now the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles is on the clock. Please, God, do not screw this up. Everyone's saying, oh, you should take a quarterback. Why? Why would we take a quarterback at 1 when we can get a bunch of picks? We can get their pick. We can get a second overall pick. We should trade with the Colts. I think that's the best case scenario. They need a quarterback desperately. They need a young quarterback. They would probably be willing to give up the most, and they're at 4. When you're at 4 and you're trading up to 1 to make sure you want that quarterback above the Texans, because the Texans are probably getting a quarterback too, let's be honest. So if it's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, it's probably going to be one of those two. It depends on who the Texans or the Colts like more. And they're in the same division, so the Colts would be willing to give up even more because they're in the same division and they want to get that QB rather than the Texans get that QB that they like. So honestly, it's the first overall pick. Give up, I wouldn't take anything less than 3 first round picks. And then maybe a second this year. Give us that second that we traded for Chase Claypool. But that's another thing. Because the Dolphins are just a terrible franchise, and honestly, they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. They're probably going to get knocked out first round. Because the Dolphins are just a terrible ownership franchise, technically we traded a first round pick for Chase Claypool. I still think Chase Claypool can be good, but based off of this year, it was wow, that was such a bad trade. So if he's not good next year, we just traded a first round pick, then the 32nd overall pick for Chase Claypool, when a bunch of decent wide receivers or even running backs, if we're not bringing back Montgomery, might be there. So yes, we still have a second pick, but I would have liked that second pick that we got for Chase Claypool, or we traded away for Chase Claypool in this draft. And technically, since we got the first overall pick, and the Dolphins don't have a pick in this, it's you pick that in the first round. It's kind of confusing, but it's also not at the same time. But anyway, we have the first overall pick. That's all I care about right now. And it was just a glorious, glorious tank job by Matt Eberflus, by Luke Getsy. You can tell. I mean, either they're fucking stupid-ass coaches, like absolute morons at coaching, or they were tanking on purpose. It's maybe not on purpose, but they were like purposely like calling bad plays or just like, yeah, tanking on purpose. That's what I'm pretty much trying to say. Either they're absolute dumbass morons at football and they don't even understand it and they're like my little sister trying to understand football, or they were tanking on purpose. It's one or the other. It's not in between. But I don't think they were tanking on purpose for very long. I think it was maybe the last 2 or 3 games this season because we were pretty competitive up until after the Eagles game. I forgot who we played after the Eagles game, but we were not really competitive up until then. So, I mean, it was just a glorious tank job. We had pretty much the second overall pick the entire season. There was really no way the Texans were going to give it up. They had one win pretty much the whole season. They beat whoever. I forgot who they beat. They beat the Colts the last week. Lovie Smith, I love you. We are down by a half a game. So I'm pretty sure it was the Colts they tied with. I can't remember who they tied with, but that's the reason we have the first overall pick, because technically, if we ended with the same record, they would get it because we beat them this year. So technically, they're worse than us. So thank God they tied, because if they didn't tie, they would get the first overall pick, even if they lost to the Colts. But since they tied, technically, we're a game behind, or a half a game behind them. It's weird, but it makes sense. So I'll be doing some mock drafts. I'll be doing some prospects who I would want Ryan Poles to get. It's the next day. It's 8 a.m. in Colorado. It was a glorious day to be a Bears fan. The first overall pick. The Lions beat the Green Bay Packers. It was just a glorious day being a Bears fan. Now, yes, we have the first overall pick, but you can easily screw this up. This is a first-time GM. He has all of the pressure on his shoulders. But at the same time, that is why we're paying you millions of dollars to get this done, to get a good team out on the field, to get a competitive team out on the field that goes to playoffs consistently. That is why we are paying you. If you screw this up, I don't want Ryan Poles on my team anymore. I really don't. How do you screw this up? You have the most cap space out of any other team. I think by far you have the first overall pick. You got a franchise quarterback. You can't screw this up. You can easily, but you can't at the same time. This is probably the most important Bears offseason in a very long time. We haven't had the first overall pick. As bad as we have been, we haven't had the first overall pick in the draft since 1947. With all this cap space, with all these young players. We just traded for Chase Claypool, okay? Now go get a Will Anderson. Work on the defense. I don't really care about the secondary. The secondary is not a problem to me. Work on the defensive line. Work on the linebackers. Work on the offensive line. If you trade away that first overall pick to the Colts and you pick an offensive line fourth, I wouldn't mind. If you pick Will Anderson fourth, I wouldn't mind if he's still there. Jalen Carter. I don't know if some people don't like him that much. I don't know if I would pick him fourth. He just can't screw this up. I can't see how you could screw this up. It's just, I mean, you can. Like I said, you can. But it's just what you get paid for. It's what you get paid to do. Now go and do your job. Get Justin Fields, literally anybody. Okay, not literally anybody. Anybody. I want a big name. I want to make some splashes in the offseason. And I'm talking around the trade deadline, like whatever. I'm talking the draft. I'm talking just trade people. Just trade for people. I don't know what else to say. I want a big name. I want to do what the Eagles did. Get Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. I want a bunch of different weapons. Like imagine A.J. Brown, Chase Claypool. I'm just imagining. But I want like a bunch of weapons that Justin Fields can rely on. Like imagine like a Devontae Adams, a Darnell Mooney, a Cole Kmet, I don't know, Christian Kirk. I mean, he's not great, but like somebody like that. Don't pay him that much. Don't waste all your money on one player like that. But if they're a good player and you believe they're going to be a good player, pay them. Don't be a cheap asshole. You have the money. Don't pay them too much, but come to an agreement. Don't be like Roquan Smith, because he was great. And Roquan Smith is that young talent that I probably would have liked on my team for years to come. But just don't be a cheap asshole. That's what I'm saying. If you guys are 2 to 5 million apart, just fucking meet in the middle or pay him that much. If he's a good player, like if he's a Devontae Adams, if he's an A.J. Brown, if he's a Tyreek Hill, don't be a cheap asshole just because it seems like you are like that sometimes, Ryan Poles. I don't know why I'm trying to talk to him like he's listening. But yeah, it was a good day to be a Bears fan. The Green Bay Packers lost, and oh my God, I was so happy. I was rooting for the Lions. That's like one of the only times I'll ever root for the Lions. They're like, I hate them the least in our division, even though we got swept by them this year. I hate them the least because I don't know. I don't hate them as much as I hate the Vikings and the Packers. Packers by far I hate the most. And then Aaron Rodgers is, I'm emotional. Like I can't decide if I want to come back next year. Oh, shut up, man. Shut up. I don't know if I want to retire or do Jeopardy. I'm not going to decide until like August, like he did last year. Dude, nobody cares. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the exact same goddamn offseason. Oh, I don't know if I should come back. Oh, I don't know. And then he's going to come back. And then we start talking about the draft. We start talking about other trades. We start talking about, and then he wants all the attention again. Oh, wait, look at me. Should I come back or no? Oh my God, well, look at me. I'm coming back. Dude, nobody cares. And then he's walking off with Randall Cobb. Like, who cares, man? Everybody hates you. Why is all the emotion on him and not everyone else? Montgomery didn't get that. Oh, but should Aaron Rodgers come back next year? Can we talk about somebody other than the Packers? Like, nobody cares about the Packers. They stink. And yeah, the Bears stink too. I'm not saying we do not. But can we like talk about something other than if Aaron Rodgers is vaccinated, if Aaron Rodgers is going to go do Jeopardy? Like it's going to be another offseason like that. I can already tell. People are already talking about, is Aaron Rodgers coming back next year? Dude, nobody gives a shit. Literally nobody. I mean, I do because they beat us every year, but honestly, I don't even think Aaron Rodgers had much to do with him beating us this year. We're going to lose to the Packers if it's Jordan Love, if it's Aaron Rodgers, if it's Brett Favre, if it's my fucking grandma under center. We lose to the Green Bay Packers even if they score 0 points. We will always lose to the Green Bay Packers until the Bears can prove to me that they can beat the Packers consistently. I will always choose the Packers to win, always. Especially in Lambeau. And the refs tried everything in their power to give, here you go, here's your Christmas present, to literally hand the Packers this game, and they still screwed it up. There was a lot of bullshit calls. I mean, Quay Walker, he should have been ejected. He's a pussy for doing that. And he tried to apologize on Twitter just because his PR team told him to apologize. Get the fuck out of here. You do that twice in a season, the same thing. I understand. I mean, I don't understand, but I can kind of understand if you get ejected twice. But twice for the exact same thing? Man, you got a problem. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. My emotions got over me. Get the fuck out of here. And then he's crying, walking to the locker room. I found that so hilarious. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, the Packers are going to be the talk of the offseason. You went 8-9 this season. Who cares if Aaron Rodgers comes back? Who cares, man? It's just... I would 100% rather be in the Bears situation right now with 3-14 than 8-9 getting a middle of the draft pick and not making the playoffs and getting eliminated by the Lions. I would 100,000% rather be in the Bears position than that. They have to pay him a shit ton of money for going 8-9. The only positive I see is they got Christian Watson. He had a very good season. I mean, not start to the season, but he had a very good season. So I'll admit that. You got Christian Watson. Congratulations. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Ryan Poles, don't fuck it up. And I will leave it at that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bear down.